just a moment ago, a North Korean intermediate range ballistic missile landed somewhere in the area of Hokkaido and was, of course, not equipped with a warhead. This has been a serious escalation of the current situation right now in the Eastern Asian area because the North Koreans are stating that this is in a response to United States provocation in East Asia. The only provocation that we can see at the moment is most likely the one occurring in between the United States and China over the sovereignty of the Republic of China, also known as Taiwan. Taiwan has been an independent country for around the past 110 years, of course, being the Republic of China for most of its history and having a large holding on the mainland. But after a blistering defeat in the Chinese Civil War from 1946 to 1949, was then relegated and exiled to the island of Taiwan, although it is still officially the Republic of China. The Chinese claim that the Republic of China and the island of Taiwan are an illegitimate country and belong to the People's Republic of China, also known as the Chinese. The Republic of China and the United States' official stance is that Taiwan is in fact a sovereign country and is therefore allowed to exist. That is the current statement. However, this is in question at the moment as People Liberation Army naval ships are currently encircling the island after conducting a 3-day military exercise and are in fact growing their forces, with a small no-fly zone being declared for nearly 27 minutes until the Chinese rescinded that order. But it appears that just the declaration of that act alone for a single 27-minute stint does show the Chinese intentions to probably boil this over into a conventional war itself. The no-fly zone declaration that the Chinese did attempt was very similar to the no-fly zone declaration that the Russian Federation declared just hours before the invasion of Ukraine began. Going off of this, we would be able to assume that the Chinese were going to most likely call this no-fly zone to then conduct an air war campaign over Taiwan and begin the war that way. The Chinese, of course, cannot conduct a attack on the Republic of China directly by landing a naval force immediately. The Taiwanese have an incredibly strong military in terms of being able to counter the Chinese with their anti-ship missile batteries and also their surface-to-air missile batteries as well, practically making the island at the onset of war a fortress against a Chinese attack. Sorry, correction, we're about to get to Japan in a second. But the Chinese, of course, would have to deal with that threat first, and therefore would have to take air forces from the mainland to fly over Taiwan and then conduct air campaigns trying to destroy these anti-ship missile batteries and also trying to destroy the surface-to-air missile defense batteries as well. And this, once again, circles us back to North Korea and the statement that they made saying that the United States is conducting escalatory actions. The escalatory actions that they're most likely speaking of at this moment is the U.S. and Philippine Navy conducting military exercises in the coming days around the area of Taiwan and also the areas of the Philippines as well. This could be the threat that the Chinese and North Koreans are somewhat concerned about. And the reason why the North Koreans are hopping on board, although it seems like they are largely uninvolved in this, because there is a defensive pact in between North Korea and China that says that if one is attacked, the other shall come to their aid. It's very similar to the I guess you could say any other defensive pact or the NATO alliance, if that's one thing that you know, but on a very small scale and only in between two countries. The North Koreans are most likely trying to leverage this defensive pact, although the Chinese and the North Koreans rarely leverage this in any situation, so that way the North Koreans can get Chinese support and food aid. At this moment, we understand that the North Koreans are going through another major famine, very similar to the one they went through in the early 90s, which was known as the Great Famine. Many people are saying that due to the restrictions and the border lockdowns that the North Koreans faced during the pandemic of several years ago, they are most likely going through another famine again, as a large amount of their food came from being imported from the Chinese mainland. A very small amount of it was produced in North Korea because there is a minuscule amount of arable land there. And of course, the North Koreans, being starved and nearly out of food, are of course going to try and leverage any kind of diplomatic favor they can to make sure that the Chinese will be able to support them or maybe even send paid for food aid to the North Koreans, so that way their citizenry does not starve over the next few coming months and years. Also, at the same time, it appears that the North Koreans didn't just threaten the United States in hopes of getting more food support from the Chinese. They're most likely also threatening Japan as well, as the Japanese are the third largest economy in the world, only behind the People's Republic of China, mainland China, and the United States of America, meaning that the Japanese are quite a large power to be reckoned with and just a few hundred miles away from North Korea. The Japanese are also rearming their military as well, most likely in an attempt to curb the Chinese threat in the area, and maybe even to curb the North Korean threat on a smaller scale as well. The Japanese are most likely going to be taking this threat fairly seriously, and may even start to deploy forces to the Sea of Japan to perhaps prepare for more of a diplomatic play, a standoff, or maybe even war itself. There are many people, including Republic of China and Japanese officials, who are starting to say that war appears to be more and more likely, and as the weeks pass by, it does appear that that may actually be the case, or we may be looking at one of the largest standoffs in East Asia that we've seen in decades. But of course, that is all of the information we have at the moment, and some of this is just, I guess you could say, hypotheses at the moment. None of it's actually happened, and of course, we're just trying to take a good look at the situation overall. But once again, I have to say, some of it has not happened, so take that with a grain of salt. We may see that the Chinese are just conducting everything in Taiwan as a diplomatic play, and there is no actual aim of going to war. And once again, the North Koreans have fired missiles near the Hokkaido area before, and this may just be another, I guess you could say, more so abnormal yet normal in a sense, missile test that they've conducted near Hokkaido to once again put the Japanese on edge. But this one is a little bit more serious than others because while most times these missiles are able to fly into the area and alarms are sounded, the Japanese also gave evacuation orders this time, which have happened several times before, but it isn't an incredibly common scenario, showing that the Japanese actually did fear that this missile may be landing somewhere nearby or directly on Hokkaido itself before it landed in the Sea of Japan. And of course, if you did enjoy, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe as well. We run a nightly live stream beyond these videos at 10 p.m. Eastern Time every single night, 6 days a week except for Monday, covering the past 24 hours of the war in Ukraine. And here in the future, actually starting tonight, we'll also be covering a small amount of Taiwan-China news in every single nightly stream as well. And so if you did enjoy this summary, make sure to also join us on the live stream, and also make sure to go down into the link in the description and support us on Patreon, because of course that helps me to focus on making these videos, and of course we're very appreciative of anyone who supports this channel and helps us to keep on delivering the news that we've been delivering. But of course, this is the Enforcer, and I thank you so much for once again for watching, and we will see you on the stream tonight.